All right. Welcome back to another episode of SaaS Buyers Club. I'm your host, Omeed. And this week I am interviewing Lien from The Big Exit. And this week we're going to talk about the one thing that she sees time and time again, which is owners and founders building and growing, but without a clear goal, like an exit in mind. And what she's found is if the goal is sellability, then all of the actions of the founder or the owner become aligned with that. And so scaling to exit rather than scaling for the sake of scaling, for example, is one of the things that we're going to talk about and much more. Lien, thanks for joining me this week.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise. So tell me a little bit about the Big Exit. What is it? How long has it been around? How did you get into it? Would love to hear from you.
Yeah, love to give you a little bit of a backside story here. So with the Big Exit, our aim or our mission is to educate 1 million small business owners in getting their business exit ready. In very short, that's what we do. How this business came about is a very personal story, actually. I have been a serial entrepreneur for almost 15 years now, and it's only recently, a couple of years back, when I did a funding round for one of my businesses, that I came to realize that building a business to sell it or partially sell it is a very different ballgame than building a business for the sake of building a business. So I did this funding round. I spoke with hundreds of investors. You know how these things go, right? When you're raising capital. And from the very first moment in these conversations, these investors asked me, what's your exit strategy? Which is a very normal, legit question. Yet I was very inexperienced in this space because I've always had been building businesses where I was 100% shareholder of the business, and I never required any funding. So I kind of got a little bit into a different world. And to be quite honest, I was like, I don't even know what an exit strategy is. And I say that laughing because I think for a lot of your listeners, they'll probably think like, how can you not know what an exit strategy is? Now, for a lot of small business owners, I came to realize after having hundreds, if not thousands of conversations over the last couple of years is a lot of small business owners, specifically the ones that have bootstrap businesses and not necessarily go through VC funding or external funding for their businesses. They never really think about an exit strategy, basically. So they build a business, they build it to the best of their capacities. And the only time where they start thinking about an exit strategy is often when they're thinking of retiring, whether forcefully or because they've come to an age where it's kind of a retirement age. That's the only point in time where they think about exit strategies. Now, I'm part of quite a few high-level mastermind groups with other business owners and bootstrap business owners. And when I raised the question with them, asking them like, hey, do you have an exit strategy? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? It turns out none of them really had. They never really thought about what would it mean if I eventually sell this business or step out of this business or move myself out of this business. And that's, to cut a very long story short, that's actually how the Big Exit came about, because I came to realize that I wasn't the only one as a business owner who never thought about an exit strategy. And it felt like a really missing piece of knowledge that 99% of small business owners are lacking. And I wanted to spread that knowledge around.
And you work mostly with digital businesses, right?
Yeah, with digital businesses, online businesses, but not only though. There's a lot of businesses out there that do more of a hybrid model, I would say. But most of the businesses that we work with are businesses, what I say, in the service-based industries that are offering services to their clients.
Okay, so tell me about, so what we're here to talk about is like what you see time and time again is that founders don't have a clear goal like an exit in mind. And when the goal becomes sellability, all actions and to-dos become aligned with that. How does that actually change things in your experience?
Yeah, it does change things quite a lot. So when we're talking about small business sellability and the kind of buyers that are buying smaller businesses, and just for the record, like when I'm talking about smaller businesses, I'm talking about businesses that make like less than 2 million in revenue a year, right? So just to set things straight, so because people might have different understandings of what a small business is. So in the acquisition space, a small business is considered less than 2 million. It's often, a little bit like the special threshold value for M&A experts and brokers to be interested in supporting you on your exit journey as well. So hence the term small business, I refer to it as like businesses that make less than 2 million a year. So just to can you just repeat your question again? Because I got a little bit sidetracked.
No worries. Yeah. So the question is, when founders build within a clear goal like an exit in mind, when the goal is sellability, how does that actually change things for the founder?
Yeah, it does. So thank you for referring that back to me.
Totally.
Because for small businesses and the kind of buyers that buy these kinds of small businesses, profitability is a very crucial, if not the most important metric to be able to sell your business. It's profitability. Why? Because a lot of these, not all of them, but a lot of these small business buyers will be looking at the profitability of your business in order for them to do the maths and see if it makes sense to buy your business, right? Now, profitability is not necessarily the thing that you will be very focused on in terms of increasing it or maintaining it when you are just scaling up your business. Quite frankly, often when you're scaling your business, you're making a lot of investments to grow your revenue. And keeping an eye on your profit is not necessarily the thing that you would be doing. So if you would ask me the one big difference between scaling to exit and scaling to just grow, then it is the focus on profitability more than anything else.
Got it. Okay. So what I hear you saying is when owners make selling their business their goal, they focus less on growth, more on profitability.
Exactly. Often when we're scaling to grow, we will focus a lot on identifying where the growth potential of our business is and then kind of trying to reap those opportunities for growth. Now, when you're selling a business, often you will sell it to a buyer who can leverage the growth potential him or herself or themselves, right? So what you want to focus on is on profitability and highlight the growth potential that the business has, but you don't have to, as the business owner, you don't have to be the one to cultivate that growth potential. Whilst if you're scaling for growth, that's exactly what you will be doing.
Got it. Okay. Love that. So, this clear kind of theme is emerging. I would really like to dive into this theme. The theme is growth versus profitability. And so what have you found for company owners and founders when they make profitability their main goal? What do they do? How do they achieve the profitability so that they can get that big exit?
There's a couple of things that you can do to increase profitability, right? Very simply said is like you spend less and you make more. That's very simple said.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously a little bit of strategy there because you obviously want to do that in a very smart way and not in a way that you jeopardize the long-term future of your business. It's not just so much about cost cutting. It's about being very, very smart about doing so. And it's not just about growing, but it's about growing in a very smart way. So, for example, rather than just increasing revenue with a randomly chosen strategy, if I can call it that way, you would probably be increasing your revenue specifically with those offers, whether those are products or services that you have that not only bring in the most revenue, but are the ones that are the most profitable. So rather than just pushing maybe your highest priced offer, which if you push that, your revenue will increase. But if your highest price offer is the one where you're making the least profit on, because maybe it's super high touch and it requires a lot of tailor-made work that you do for your clients, then it might not be the right strategy to take because yes, you'll make more revenue. No, you'll get less profit. So doing an analysis like that and then deciding what offers you should be doubling down on, which are the most profitable ones, not per se the most expensive ones or with the highest price tag, is a really kind of tweaked strategy in growing your revenue when you have profitability in mind. So that's a very simple, easy example of earning more, but with the glasses on for scaling to sell rather than scaling to grow.
Got it. That totally makes sense. So, okay. So if a founder is wanting to exit their business, and let's say, I've been running this business for 3 years, for example, and I want to exit by year 5 or something like that. I would shift my perspective and I would say, okay, I've been investing. If I were to work with the big exit, for example, you would come in and you would say, okay, we're going to focus on profitability. We're going to do an analysis of all of the products. The one that has the highest profitability is actually the one that we're going to focus on? Or what does that process actually look like in terms of, when do founders usually decide when is the right time to focus on growth versus profitability? What does the shift look like? I hear that, they should think about it from the beginning. So should they never be thinking about growth, or should they only be thinking about growth from the most profitable perspective? So many questions. That was a lot of questions.
Yeah. Let's answer them all. We might have to come back to your initial question, but in terms of timing, right? So when you're scaling to sell specifically, right? And when you're organizing your business to make it sellable, I'm going to be honest with you. The more time you have, the better. It's not just about increasing profitability. There's a bunch of things that you want to kind of get yourself organized on in order to make your business as valuable and as sellable as possible. So the earlier you can start, the better. I always say the best time to start thinking about your exit is when you start your business. The second best time is today. Even if you're not planning on selling your business anytime soon, or you're even thinking you're never want to sell your business whatsoever, I promise you that when you act as if you would want to sell your business will be on such a nicer, sweeter, more fun track. And you might potentially never want to sell your business. I mean, some of the clients that we work with, when they make the changes throughout time that are required for them to be able to do an exit, turns out they fall in love with their business all over again. Because a sellable business is a business that is actually a really great business to have. Because that is what makes it sellable, right? Like, who wants to buy something that you don't even love to run yourself and it's like a total nightmare on a day-to-day basis? Like, that's going to be a really hard sell, right? So the best businesses are the ones that are really smooth running, very profitable, and that might be the business that you end up with when you do your homework when it comes to making your business sellable.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I hear, the first
That's timing.
Timing. So that's the timing question. And based on timing, from the very beginning, business owners should be focusing on profitability. Am I understanding correctly?
Well, there's phases in a business maturity and journey that you will be going on, right? So the profitability part becomes pretty crucial when you really have a deadline or like a rough idea of when you want to exit. Like, if that is not on your horizon in the next 2 to 3 years, you might want to still focus on growth in terms of revenue more than profitability. Because just for the record, a business that makes more money in terms of revenue is more appealing to a buyer, no matter the profitability, right? So if you're only making $100,000 a year versus $1.5 million a year, no matter what your profitability is, the fact that you have more revenue makes what we call the multiple or the multiplier more attractive. So that's one of the things, right? So you probably, if you're not actively working towards an exit in the next 2 years, growth should be your trajectory. Once you think about selling, profitability should be your main focus, because that's what's going to drive the price up closer towards the exiting date.
Got it. Okay. So what I'm kind of getting from reading between the lines here is if you're thinking about exiting in the next 2 years, that's when you should start shifting from a growth approach to a profitability approach.
Yeah.
Would you say that's accurate?
That will give you the time to set things straight.
Yeah. And the approach to profitability, one of the approaches that I heard to becoming more profitable is focusing on scaling the most profitable offer.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. What are some other... go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit already about like what's the road to profitability, and to set it really simple, it's like you make more and you spend less. Right. So in terms of making more, it's all about focusing on those most profitable offers that you have. In terms of spending less, this is a journey all on its own, right? But when we're talking about spending less, it's all about how efficiently do you organize yourself? So how capital efficient do you work in order to create those services for your clients that you are creating? So this is all about how is your team working together? What kind of procedures do you have in place? How standardized are they? How standardized is your offer? Have you been automating and using tools in order to leverage software and AI to run as cost efficiently as possible? So I'm throwing a lot of things at the table simultaneously, but these are a bunch of things that you should start thinking about when you want to, I wouldn't say cut costs, because I don't really like that particular journey, but be really smart on how and where you're spending your money to create as much leverage as possible for every dollar that you're spending.
All right, I'm going to push back a little here.
Yeah, okay? Go ahead. Love that.
Okay. Don't you think that business owners are already thinking about that? Like, won't business owners say, well, of course I want to run a profitable business. Of course I'm thinking about if I knew how to make my business run more efficiently, wouldn't the business be running more efficiently already? So yeah, I'm curious how you think about that.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I've been in consultancy before doing this and being an entrepreneur, I've been in consultancy for 10 years, advising big corporations on what they should be doing. And one of the things that I learned from that journey is it's not because you know what you have to do that you actually do it. And I think that goes with a lot of things in our lives, whether that is our health, whether it's how we manage our money, it's how we take care of our relationships and all these things. So there's definitely a gap between knowing what you should be doing and actually doing it. The reality for a lot of small business owners is that they're still very much in the trenches. So they know that stuff needs to change. They just don't know either how to do it, what can be done, or getting actually the time crafted in their agenda to actually spend time doing all of these things. Because it's so much easier to spend your time serving your clients or, like distinguishing little fires with the team and stuff like that than spending strategic time on maybe starting to use a software tool that kind of skims a lot of the costs and maybe the rework that is happening within your organization. That being said, there are small business owners that run super lean, mega profitable businesses already, right? So they'll probably have a sellable business just already the way that it is. But for most of the small business owners that we encounter, there's still quite a big opportunity to increase profitability if they spend some very strategic, deliberate time on how to run their operations more efficiently.
That totally makes sense. It's like, I know that I need to work out every day, for example, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I work out every day. So
exactly right. So for a business owner as well, like that you need to document your processes, every single one of them, and that your team should be dedicated to certain parts of these processes and should follow the procedure that you have in place. Well, you would be surprised how many small businesses in general do not have standard operating procedures. Like even the most basic ones. A lot of the stuff is in their head rather than it is on a piece of paper. And as long as it's in your head, you can't sell that business. You can't exit yourself from that business.
So let's talk about some of these hows and what. You talked about, so I heard a few of the hows and whats. One of the hows and whats is focus on the highest profitability product. I think, this discussion of SOPs is a really hot topic right now. Everyone is talking about, systems and procedures. And it seems, with this age of social media and the internet and with ChatGPT, especially, SOPs is a very hot topic in the business world space. What can you tell the audience, because they know what they need to do, but you said maybe they don't know how to do it. So what are the common things that you see often with a lot of business owners in terms of the hows that they don't know how to do?
Yeah. Well, surprisingly, a lot of them don't actually know how to write an SOP, which, you don't have to. There's also experts that you could hire to help you do that, right? Like, I'm not saying every small business owner should be writing their own SOPs, right? But for a lot of small business owners or their teams who are responsible, or the person in their team who is responsible for that, is just starting with actually doing that and writing it down often is kind of, there's a block there. So one of the things that we often advise to do is just have a look in your calendar. If you're the business owner, for example, all of the tasks you're spending your time on. This is specifically for business owners, right? I'm not even talking about writing SOPs for the team. So I'm talking about the small business owner here. So what are you doing on a day-to-day basis in your business? Some of these tasks are related to marketing. Some of these tasks are related to sales. Some of these tasks are related to finance, whatever. And you just keep track for a week or 2, 3, as to what are you spending your time on. Because often when you're starting to scale a business towards profitability and an exit, as a business owner, you want to create time in your own agenda to go on this strategic journey, right? So liberating yourself from a bunch of tasks is often the first step to do, unless you have budget available to hire someone like a COO, for example, to actually go and do that for you. So that's one of the things that is a very simple thing that you can do. Like, you start labeling these things out and look what kind of tasks you are spending in marketing and sales and finance, in delivery of the goods or the offer or the service or whatever. And then the next step is to start delegating those things, those tasks specifically to certain people within your team. And it might be that you need to hire people, might be that you need more hours from your team in order to be able to execute that. But that's a very simple, straightforward, easy way on how to get started with it.
Got it. That totally makes sense. Super simple. It's just like, keep a log of all of the things that you do, and that'll show you specifically the things that are in your universe, that are under your control, that you can start to create systems around and delegate to other people to start to remove yourself from the business, because that's what most acquirers are going to want to see, that the owner of the business doesn't have to actively be managing the business. The business needs to operate independently of the owner. That's also often how you can really determine, profitability at the end of the day, because if you're not actively involved, does the machine operate efficiently without you? So exactly, right? Because if you're going to sell this business eventually, you won't be there anymore as the small business owner. So can this business run without you? Can it run efficiently without you? That's the main question that a buyer has. So tracking your tasks in your agenda and stuff like that is a good way. If you want to go a little bit more drastic, which is one of the things that I often advise to business owners to do. Most of them don't do this though, but if you want to go a little bit more drastic with this approach, is take 4 weeks of holiday and see what happens. Most small business owners cannot take even a week of holiday before the wheels fly off the wagon. So just thinking about what would happen if I take 4 weeks off or 3 weeks off, let alone 3 or 4 months off. Can you even imagine? A lot of business owners can't imagine anything like that. But that's a great exercise, just removing yourself away from the business
for like a week and seeing the stuff that doesn't get done because you're not there, and then kind of slowly working your way through it and like take 1 week off, what hasn't worked, incorporate that within the team, take 2 weeks off, what doesn't work, incorporate that into the team, and so on. It's a more pleasurable approach, I would say, because at least you're taking a little bit of holiday.
Yeah, if they actually take the holiday, because I feel like a lot of business owners probably will be like on the beach, on their phone. Or,
exactly. You know. So it's really about just fully disconnecting for a little bit more time than you're comfortable with. Let me say it like that. And maybe that's for you, that's an hour, that's like a day and a half or 2 days, right? But a little bit more than you're comfortable with to see what is not working anymore in the business. Probably, I mean, you won't do a lot of damage if you're not jumping in straight away for most of the cases, right? It's not going to be pleasant when you come back, but it's not like your business is going to fall apart if this thing doesn't get done for the next 4 days, right? So releasing that urge to interfere, just make note of what is happening, but don't interfere. Just record what's happening. Don't interfere. Then come back. And rather than solving it, is work together with your team so they can solve it and learn from that experience.
Yeah, see where the machine breaks, and that's your work to fix it, essentially. And that's how you as the business owner will figure out, what are the aspects of your business that are not able to operate without you. It's great. It's great practice. Okay, so I hear these 2 ways that you work with business owners. One way is profitability analysis. You help them analyze which product is most profitable. You help them focus on that product so that they can become more profitable over the course of time. Another is, it sounds like, you provide them with advice, guidance, and coaching with respect to implementation and development of systems. How else? It looks like
Well, just a slight nuance there. Because what we do at the Big Exit is we share knowledge and we educate small business owners. I honestly, truly believe knowledge is power. And we try to educate small business owners on the things that make their business sellable and valuable. And we give them the knowledge, we give them the information, we give them the templates, we give them the checklists, we give them a whole bunch of things. Our main goal, and for most of the clients that we work with, our main goal is to make them self-sufficient on this journey, more than us sitting next to them or regularly sitting next to them and guiding them through the process. Now, some of them want that. They want a little bit of accountability, hand-holding, and a mirror in the process, and that's fine. We offer that too. But our main goal is to make those small business owners more knowledgeable about the process. So whilst we were building the offer portfolio for the Big Exit and speaking to a lot of professionals in the acquisition space and brokers and M&A experts and the likes, almost all of them told us a business owner doesn't know what makes their business valuable and sellable. Now, we can educate them on that, and we kind of do that, but it's actually not really what we do as brokers, right? We're brokers. We want to sell a business. And if there's still a lot of things that need to happen beforehand in order to make this business either sellable or sellable at an amount of money that the owner wants to sell it for, like giving them that knowledge and spreading that knowledge and having that knowledge for themselves is super valuable. So that's where the Big Exit actually comes in. It's increasing that knowledge for small business owners before they step into a conversation with whether that's a broker or a business valuating person or somebody else in that journey that often, they come in after the business is kind of ready to be sold, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you provide education is what I hear primarily. I mean, you definitely...
That is primarily our goal. And the second thing that we do is community. So a lot of small business owners, they struggle with a couple of things when they're thinking about selling. One is obviously knowledge. They don't know what makes the business valuable. They don't know what makes the business sellable. That's one thing. The second thing is who do I need in order for me to help me on this journey? Do I need a broker or do I not need a broker? And if I do need a broker, how do I find a good one? If I want to not go with a broker and I want to go in myself and find buyers myself, like what do buyers look like? Should I sell to a strategic buyer or a financial buyer? Obviously, most of the time they don't even know the difference between the two. So it's kind of like, I don't even know who to sell this to. So tell me a little bit more about buyers and that buyer space, and how should I find them? How should I approach them? Should I just pick up the phone and call them? Like, how does this even work? So a lot of small business owners don't really know how to go about doing that. And when they have sold, I spoke to hundreds of them who have sold in the last couple of years. And what they told me was, I wish I could have called someone, an owner, not a broker, but an owner who had sold their business before, similar to mine. And I could ask in all confidentiality, I could ask a couple of questions too. That would have helped me so much. I would have not felt so alone. I would have not felt so insecure. So the other part that we do with the big exit is that community part. It's creating that network, or enabling that network so you can create your own exit dream team, specifically tailored to your needs. So those could be brokers, but not brokers. They could be legal advisors or not, depending on how supported you want to be on that journey. We'll make sure that you get the right kind of a support to go on that journey as well.
Very cool. Love that. Yeah, community is huge. One of the things I think business owners can be incredibly isolated. I've been to a lot of different, SaaS conferences and events, and the one thing that I hear time and time again is I had no idea that other people struggle with the same thing that I struggle with, and it is just really nice being around other people, knowing that, we're going through the same things and facing the same things. And also when we know that this is something that you're struggling with, what I've seen, like I hosted a brunch the other day, and at the brunch, it was a bunch of different startup founders sitting there. One of the startup founders was talking about, this issue that they're facing. All of a sudden, all the other people at the table are like offering like, oh, I could connect you with this person. I could do this for you. I actually have this resource for you. It's like all these people jumped in to offer support and solutions and all of, these different benefits. Had they not been at that event, they would have been in a silo, isolated, not able to access all of these different benefits that are available to them. So yeah, community is huge.
So valuable. And I think I've been in the professional entrepreneurial space for long enough to know that knowledge and community is like the secret sauce that sets an entrepreneur apart from, I don't like to use the competition, but from other people in the space, right? It's like knowing stuff and having the right people around you that can take you to that next level. So education and community, to me at least, it's so empowering for a small business owner to be part of a community, to learn stuff they didn't know before that helps them on their journey, not be so heavily reliant maybe on expensive consultants and things like that, and be a little bit more self-sufficient. And I think that's one of the things. I'm a small business owner as well. Money is always short all the time, right? So the more self-sufficient you can be and the more surrounded you can be with like-minded people who are on a similar journey, it's like that sets you apart. Like that catapults you 2-3 years ahead in maybe just that one brunch, right? Like you were organizing this brunch, and for that person, you potentially catapulted their journey forward with 2 or 3 years, right? Just finding that right person that can help them on their journey where they're at right now. It's priceless.
I agree. Yeah. Community is super important. I'm a community person. So for all the people out there, find a community. That's the point. I'm curious, so I would love to dive more into, I hear that what the big exit does is it provides knowledge. I would love to get even more clear. So I hear, one of the things is, knowledge around becoming more profitable. knowledge around systems. What are kind of the other buckets of knowledge that the big exit provides that help people get that big exit?
Yeah, I love that. So we have a flagship course, and that kind of bundles a lot of the things that we have been talking about, but obviously way more in depth, right? So in this flagship course, people can just buy it, enroll it, have lifelong access to it, and get all of the knowledge that they're looking for. Basically, everything that we provide within that flagship course is all about how to prepare and sell your business for maximum value. This is ideal for people who have either 6 months to 2 years of a timeline for their exit, or those who say, like, I don't think about an exit just yet, but I'd like to know some of the principles that are important because maybe eventually I will exit this business. So the knowledge that we cover is what makes a business valuable and sellable, and what is a potential buyer for your business. Like, what would be a good match? What is a buyer looking for? In terms of making a business valuable and sellable, we have a proprietary framework that we have been developing over the last couple of years, which basically is a framework that is based on more than 17,000 data points of sold businesses, small sold businesses. That is basically a framework that explains what we call the 4 exit habits that you should be developing as a small business owner in your business in order to make your business more valuable and be able to sell it for maximum value. So that's kind of the thing that we teach within this course, to just cut it short quickly.
Can you tell us what the 4 exit habits are?
Yeah. You know what? I made it really easy to remember because the word exit has 4 letters. So each habit is one of those letters. So the E is for external habits. These are the things that you do in your business that show yourself to the outside world. Let's talk about branding, for example. Like, how do you brand your business? How do you position your business? Do you have some form of a monopoly, which allows for pricing control, for example? So the first habit is external habits. How are you positioned towards the external world? The second habit is the X of expansion habits. This is growth potential that you might have with your business, any kind of ways how you could be growing and expanding this business. The third one is the I for internal habits. This is how you have organized yourself in the back. So how dependent is your team on you, or is your business on you? Do you have procedures in place? Do you, like these kinds of things? And then the fourth habit is the T of exit, which are the tangible habits. This is everything to do with the stuff that you can measure about your business. So we've already talked about revenue. We talked about profitability. Cash flow is also important. Cash is king for a lot of small businesses. And one of the things we haven't touched about, and a lot of your listeners will be very familiar with, but it also is very important for any kind of service-based business, is not just revenue, but recurring revenue. So do you have recurring revenue systems in your business? So those are the 4 exit habits. And obviously, when we teach our proprietary framework, we go into much more details for every single one of these things. But that's the 4 exit habits: external, expansion, internal, tangible.
That's so cool. I love the acronym. That's forever going to be
etched in education for so long to know that use a SMART acronym so people can actually remember what you're teaching them.
I will forever now remember that acronym. So thank you.
You will never forget.
Yes, that's right. Very cool. This has been great. A lot of information. And Lien, just really appreciate you joining on the show this week. Any last thoughts in terms of any, final tip that you have to share with the audience? Would love to hear if you got anything. If not, that's okay too.
No final tips, I would say. But if you've never been thinking about an exit before, actually now is a really good time to start thinking about it and prepare yourself and your business for what I call, that next chapter of your life. And a lot of people think of exiting as something that happens, at least with a bootstrapped company, something that happens when we are retiring. But most of the people that we tend to work with are the ones that are eager to create their next masterpiece. They feel like, they've been building a business out of a passion, out of a problem that they have experienced and wanted to solve. And, there was no one else solving it. So they started a business from that perspective. So a lot of the people that we tend to work with are not necessarily people who are looking at their retirement age, but are the ones that are like, you know what, I'm ready to create a next masterpiece. And this is one of the things that I really love. And for everybody out there, like, I just want to say this, maybe I do have one tip.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think the most important thing when we're talking about exiting is, you know what, if you're a small business owner and it kind of comes across your mind every once in a while when you're thinking like, maybe what would happen if I'm selling this business, or like what would that mean? There's one thing that I want to say to every single small business owner out there. Any reason that you have for selling your business is a valid reason. And I'm saying this explicitly because a lot of small business owners are struggling with giving them or allowing them to have that feeling of wanting to sell, because they feel a lot of judgment. I should stick with this business till wherever, or now that it's not going really well, is now the time to sell? And they call themselves all these kinds of horrible, bad names for doing so. And this is one of the things that I like to highlight to your listeners. Like, any reason to sell is a valid reason. And, buyers have heard all kinds of reasons why owners want to sell. So your reason is as valid just as any other reason.
Yeah, that's so true. A lot of people feel shame around giving up.
Yes.
They don't know when to fold.
Yeah,
it's true.
Exactly.
It's a great point. And as a closing point, you also are launching some courses, right? Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So we have 2 courses right now, and we're launching our flagship course now in May. So between the 6th of May till the 31st of May, if you are buying our flagship course, which is 4.5 hours of video training, checklists, templates, lifelong access. When you're buying this course in pre-sale, what we offer is a complimentary independent business valuation, including a consultation. And the reason why we do that is because a lot of people don't even know what their business is worth. So we are giving a free worth $500 complimentary valuation when you are buying our flagship course in pre-sale from the 6th of May till the 31st of May.
Awesome. Very cool. So we'll have all of that information in the description below. You'll be able to contact Lien. You'll be able to find the information on the flagship course. Make sure you do. And Lien, thank you again for joining me this week on SaaS Buyers Club.
This was great. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like we could have talked for another 3 hours, but that's for another time.
Honestly. Yeah. Another conversation after you come back from Necker for sure in order. Yes. And for everyone out there, thanks for tuning in to another episode of SaaS Buyers Club. This week we interviewed Lien from The Big Exit. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like, comment, email us. Tell us what your takeaways are from this episode. We love connecting with everyone out there. And thanks for joining this week. We'll see you next week.